What's up?
Clyde Cadillahopper. I mean,
That be me. What you up to?
Man, I got swamped under. You know, I had to go back to work yesterday. I was undercover. But I wanted to talk to you about some other things too. Now, right now I have you on a recorded line. I want to talk to you about your catfish tournament. If you got time to talk with me about that.
Yeah, I got plenty of time. I'm sitting on the river right now.
Man, you're vibing exactly perfect to talk to me about some fishing. Now, yesterday I caught you in a bad situation. You were getting ready to go fishing, I think.
Yeah, I was throwing the throw net yesterday. A buddy of mine wanted some shad for bait, and I was over there catching him some shad for bait. And I had a shad slime all over me, and it wasn't a pretty picture.
No.
But today I'm propped up. I'm down here on the Ouachita River.
That's the worst places to be, my friend.
I ain't catching no fish. We've had 1 or 2 bites, and that's it. But we're still out on the water.
Yeah. Well, now, what are you trying to catch right now? Catfish, I guess, or are you trying to catch something
Catfish. Yeah, we're just catfishing. We got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13 rods out.
Well, goodness, if you got busy, you'd be busy then. That's all I can do.
Oh, yeah. Hey, I've been over on Chico before I got this boat I got now. I had a party barge I fished over there on. And I didn't have rod holders on it. I got rod holders now. All these are in rod holders. And I've got 2 rod holders and I ain't even got a rod in them because I got my top down over them. But
yeah.
I've been over on Chico and I've had 5 fish on it one time and got all 5 of them in. A buddy of mine was with me. He said, "How did you do that?" I said, "Carefully."
You did it in the manner that a one-leg man in a butt kicking contest would do it. That's what you did.
Pretty close.
Well, now you know I have. I've never had that many poles out there, but I had a boy, and he had me on a stock catfish pond one time. I'm gonna tell you right now, that'll work you to death if you working 2 or 3 poles there at one time. I mean, it's fun. There ain't nothing I'd rather do than that. But that's involved, my friend. Now,
yep.
So, we were talking about this a few weeks ago, and we were talking about your catfish tournament that you developed over the last couple of years. And I was going to get you to just tell us a little bit about it, where it came from, and where it's at, and maybe where you see it going. Well, you start where it came from, though.
Well, me and Michelle, we was fishing another tournament trail. There's another one here in Arkansas. It's up in they fish mainly in North Arkansas. And 3 years ago, every tournament they have is either at Dardanelle or Helena. Well, we want to start something up down this way where, you know, the local anglers had a place to go and fish. So we just decided to start a trail up our own. So we started it up. It was 2 years. This is our 3rd year starting up. So it was 2 years ago this month when we decided to start it. We just started a Facebook page and put ads out and put stuff out on Facebook and flyers around town. And it just started out me and her and my stepson and his girlfriend, and it growed from there. We've got, I think it's 912 members now in less than 3 years. And we steady growing. We put on, in the last 3 weeks, we probably put on 25 people. And it's steady growing.
Yeah, and now, catfishing that far north, I mean, is there, when I think of catfish, I think of, what we got down here in the Delta. There's a muddy bottom somewhere. But, so, tell me about catfish. I mean, are they all over the state? Or are they mostly down this way? Or where do you see?
Oh, they're all over the state. They're all over the United States. And there's not a state I don't know about Alaska or Hawaii, but as far as on the continental U.S., every state has got catfish in them, one type or another. Florida, they got them down in Florida. They got freshwater catfish, and they've even got saltwater catfish. I think there's 3 or 4 different kinds of saltwater catfish down there in Florida. But as far as the catfish, you got 3 main kinds. You got your channel cat, which is, I think 30 pounds is a state record. I think's what it is. And you got a blue cat, which is the state record's 116 pounds. And flathead, the state record is 80 pounds. And them's the three main fish. I mean, you got the mudcat, which hardly anybody fishes for down south. Now, up north they fish for them, but down south we don't mess with them with their bait.
Yeah. So catfish. I'm gonna be honest with you. You know, I'm not terribly into seafood, but whenever I think of fish, I used to think of brim or buffalo, but now when I want a fish plate, I want some catfish. I want some, some kind of potato there with it. I want some onion and some pickle. And I'm gonna get to where your trail is out there. But catfish is good eating too. That's not a bad venue.
Well, our catfish trail is all catch and release because we've got several big name sponsors, tackle companies, rod companies. We got 2 rod companies, B&M Rods, which they sell all kinds of rods, crappie rods, catfish rods, anything you want. And we've got Meat Hunter Rods, which is based here in Arkansas. And I mean, they're sponsors. And if we got to be catch and release, because if we was catch and keep, they couldn't sponsor us because they'd blackball them with the big tournaments. And we're just, like I said, we're just a small tournament, just getting started out and everything, but we're steadily growing. We keep our entrance fees cheap. It's $50 per boat. And we got to offer an optional $10 per person big fish bag. And that's a winner take all. And trash fish, we got a trash fish pot that it's optional. It's $5 a person. And that's anything that's not a catfish counts as a trash fish. You can catch a largemouth bass or a crappie or a big brim. That's been one with, we had a guy catch a crappie over on Lake Chico last year that was 9 inches long. He brought it up there, weighed it, and carried it back and throwed it back in. And that was the winning trash fish. He won, I think, like $60 off that or $70.
Well, that's interesting. And that's the here and now, because I've never heard of that particular angle on it before. But now you talked about Big Meat there. I think it was that one of your sponsors, the second one you mentioned there.
Oh, Meat Hunter.
Meat Hunter, that's it.
Yeah, Meat Hunter Rods. They're based up around Alma, somewhere up there. And the guy's name that runs his name's Charles Crook. And last year he even managed to attend one of our final tournament, our classic last year. He brought 5 extra rods to give away, and I'm waiting on. He should be sending us some rods anytime for this year's tournaments. He sends them at the first of the year, and then we give them 1 rod away each tournament. And we've got Meat Hunter, or not Meat Hunter, but B&M Rods is supposed to be sending us some rods, and that's nine rods or 10, whichever, and we'll give one of them away at each tournament too.
That's a big win right there. So you got a $50 entrance fee, and then like you got some. So now So what do you have to do to get into the bucket to win one of those rods? I mean, is it just the entrance fee, or is it something else?
If you fish the tournament, you're entered for a rod. Your name after we get through, after the weigh-in's over and everything, we give out tickets. And everybody that entered the tournament gets a ticket. We have something. We always have something for kids, regardless. We some smaller rod and reels or something like that. And anybody 16 or above is eligible to win a rod or whatever the giveaways are. Their name goes in the drawing too. Any licensed fisherman. But we always have something there. Every kid that shows up, they're going to get something, regardless of what it is. They're going to win something. And we gave away some little kids' rod and reel fishing sets last year. And year before last, we gave out tackle boxes. And we take all that out of sponsor money to buy all that with. And it's like somebody asked me, said, well, do you make anything off the tournaments? I said, no, not unless I win one. Because me and my wife, we fish the tournaments too. And the only way we make anything, because the sponsor money all goes back into the tournament trail. It don't go into our pockets at all. And that's what I've had to explain to some of them. Well, what do you get out of it? I said, nothing if I don't win a tournament. Simple as that. We do it for fun. And that's the reason. Yeah. I mean, a lot of these tournaments are big money tournaments, and, they got $500, $1,000, something. There's one now. It's got I think it's a $5,000 buy-in. But we don't want that. We want to keep it small, or not necessarily small. We want to get more boats fishing, but we want to keep it cheap enough for the common man to fish, which most of them other tournaments are not.
Well, and I bet you that any other corporate sponsors that want to chip in and to keep it that way would be good too.
Well, now, we've talked to several folks around, and we're not 501c3.
Yeah.
So we're not considered a non-profit, so they can't write us off their income tax for sponsors. But we do have a couple of different places that sponsor us. We're talking right now to a Ford dealership out of El Dorado. One of the guys on the trail is looking at buying a brand new Ford 1-ton with a diesel in it, and he was talking to them last year, and they talking about wanting to sponsor us. So I'm waiting on to hear back from him now. And if he gets us the money, we're going to buy a bunch of reels to add to the giveaways.
Yeah. And you mentioned to me before about how you were, even though you're not listed as a nonprofit, you mentioned all the stuff that you were giving out to children that were at the tournament. I guess that's under 16 people. But that's something important to you. I've seen you talk about that 2 or 3 different times. I mean, you're trying to promote, you're trying to get, the next generation of people interested in fishing. So
that's the future. That was like at last year, we gave away 5 meat hunter fishing rods at the tournament for the Felsenthal kids tournament down there. They have it every year for kids under 16 to come and fish at that pond down there. They have a game fish come in and stock it. And we gave away 5 meat hunter rods down there then to the kids on Charles Crook with meat hunter rods. He sent them special for that tournament. And he had Felsenthal, I'm trying to remember how he had it worded on there. Felsenthal 2022, I forgot what they call that. But it's for the youth, and he had it specially printed on them rods to give away for the tournaments, for that kids thing down there, to get the kids interested.
Well, you mentioned a little bit ago about the only way you can make any money is to win a tournament. But now I understand that you got a wife there that really, 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 really is really good fisher person.
Yeah, yeah.
You got a competitive advantage right there if you want to brag on her for a minute. I don't know. Both are good fishers.
Last year, we had the tournament down here at Felsenthal last year, and she caught her personal best flathead. It was a little over 10 pounds. She caught it during the tournament, and then she caught her personal best blue at the time. She caught it late in the tournament, just before the tournament ended. It weighed 31 pounds. And everybody up and down the river knew she had something on. And then 2 weeks later, I think it was, we went down below the dam down here at Felsenthal, and she caught a 44-pound blue. And I had I've got a video on my phone of her turning it back loose. We carried it back to the bank and weighed it and turned it back loose. And all of our tournaments are catch and release only. That's just, we don't, there's no keeping none of the fish in them, because we're going to take care of our sponsors. They take care of us, and we take care of them.
You mentioned that trash bucket there a little bit ago, the trash basket, whatever it was called, and like you mentioned a crappie that was pretty big. What else have you seen over there that's interesting? Anything you guys have caught? And then I want go ahead.
We've had gar in it, drum, carp. We had one boy catch a carp one year, and another guy had a brim that wasn't. It wasn't but half-pound brim, and it won the trash fish pot. But usually it's a drum that'll win it, because they usually get pretty good size, and they run about the same place for the catfish, because you're gonna fish deeper water mainly for catfish most of the time. But it's just something else to add fun to it. And like I say, it's an optional thing. You don't got to get in it or the big fish if you don't want to. If you just want to pay $50, and you can have up to 4 people 4 adults on 4 licensed fishermen on your boat at a time. And we keep 3 fish besides you got 1 trash fish, and then we keep you're allowed 3 catfish in the boat at a time. When you catch the 4th one, you got to cull one. When you bring them into weigh, they've all got to be alive because we got to turn every one of them back loose. We've got a couple of people that won't fish with us because they want to keep the fish. But
well,
I mean, that's not happening.
Well, that makes sense though. But so there's a little bit of background to that, and I've heard about it before about why you don't keep those. Why is it? Do you know?
Well, most of it is a lot of the bigger tournaments. You know, they're catching 70, 80, 90-pound fish.
Yeah.
And they want to throw them back. They're not much good eating anyhow. A blue that size is not much good eating. They're stringy and tough. And time you cut all the red meat and the trash meat off of them, the fat and all that, you lose most of the meat. Yeah. So that's just something to keep the water stock good because that's breeding stock.
Yes, sir.
And we just follow along with what they're kind of what they're doing on that area there. But in order for our sponsors to be able to sponsor us, we got to turn them back loose. Now, that's like today. We catch anything today, we're gonna carry it home and eat it.
Yeah. I mean, you got to eat too. So
that's it.
So this year, where are you planning on? I looked at the schedule, and I think I posted it on Ashley County now. But I think that maybe Sarah added another date or two to it. Just don't list all of them, but just kind of give us an idea of where you guys are, what kind of venues you guys are going to be at this year, at least next couple weeks or month.
Okay, our first tournament is going to be March 11th, and it's going to be at the Washita River at Camden.
Oh,
it's at Sandy Beach Park over there.
Yeah.
And we do all of our registration and stuff, sign-ups and all that morning before the tournament. And at that one, we're going to have a food truck there. I think they're going to be there that morning before we launch if anybody wants to come and eat breakfast. And then our next one will be April the 29th, and it's going to be down at Lake Erling. And then we're going to have a couple. That's at Taylor, Arkansas. It's southwest of El Dorado. I'm trying to think of a little.
That's real close to Louisiana. Yeah.
Yeah, it's close to Louisiana, and we're going to go down there and have a tournament. It's like I say, it's going to be April the 29th, and May I think we're going to be on the Arkansas River up around Pine Bluff, up north of Pine Bluff somewhere. And then June, we're going to have one up that way on the Arkansas River. And I don't remember the exact dates on those, but
yeah.
And then we're going to have one on, our classic this year is going to be October the 7th down here at Felsenthal. We've done got the reserve for it. We done got us a pavilion reserved and all that. But we're going to have one on the Mississippi River, one at Lake Chico, couple on we're going to have 3 on the Arkansas River, and we just kind of scattered out in the southeast part of the state and make it close where, people live at El Dorado. They got a couple, and in order to qualify for the Classic down here, you got to fish 2 of the regular season tournaments. And usually some of our sponsors will send some extra for the Classic, extra giveaways and stuff like that for the Classic. One of them, Hooker's Terminal Tackle, last year gave us 3 $50 gift cards to give away at the Classic. And Charles Crook himself, he showed up at our Classic last year, and he brought 5 meat hunter rods to give away. So we've got a good support group so far. And we got Murphy's Bait and Tackle there in Crossett. They're fixing to open up, and they're one of our sponsors this year. They've been with us since we started. I think they was probably the first sponsor we had. But they're just now starting their bait shop up. It was Murphy's Roofing. But
now are they out here in West Crossett? What I would call that, I don't know what I'd call that, but I called it a long time ago something different what I would now. Is that where he's at?
It used to be Pappy's.
Pappy's.
It used to be Clark's Grocery, and then it was Pappy's, but he bought that building there, and they're redoing it. They putting a lot of work into that building, and they're going to have a full service tackle shop. Well, not full service, but they're going to have tackle in there for catfish, bass, brim, crappie. They're going to have live bait, frozen bait, and about, for catfish or whatever. And they're working hard. They're going to try to get it opened up by the second week of March is when they're looking at. But they're going to have groceries. They're going to have a cook in there. They're getting set up right in there. And he's trying to stock stuff that, stuff that the regular fishermen will be looking for and stuff that the tournament fisher will be looking for. Hooks and sinkers and swivels and all that good stuff. Terminal tackle and whatever, line and everything. And he's going to try to carry some top name rods. I'll put him in contact with Meat Hunter and B&M Rods. So he's going to try to carry their poles. And
we need that back here in Crossett. I mean, the last several years we've not really had that here. But now that's good to hear out here. And that's what used to be called Westside Grocery. It was called Clark's. It was called what you just, Pappy's.
Yep.
And now what they gonna call it? Murphy's? Is that what they're gonna call it?
It's gonna be Murph's Bait. I think it's Murph's Bait and Tackle. I think it's what he's.
I think he also started Judy's Diner up there, and then they closed it down.
Well, he sold it. Yeah, he sold it to somebody else. Some friends of theirs bought it from him, and it's still going up at Fountain Hill.
And people loved it whenever he had it, and they still love it whenever Judy has it. But now, these people here, they know how to set it up. And like you said, they're hard workers. They do an excellent job. I've seen their roofing work. In fact, I think I've had them do one for me.
No.
So they're good people. Good people. So, okay, so then that's down here. That's going to help down here. And you talked about the other ones going on. The first one is March 11 and on the sandy beach there in Camden, right? March 11th?
Right. March 11th.
That's going to be interesting.
And like I say, we're hoping to grow the number of boats showing up. Because last year, our first year, we averaged 6 boats. And that wasn't that many boats, but that was just starting out. And I talked to one of the, I talked to one of the big tournament directors that does the big tournaments one day. And we was talking about it. He said, my first tournament, when we started this trail here, he said, our first 4 tournaments, we had a total of 3 boats per tournament.
Oh, yeah.
He said, we just couldn't get nobody fishing.
Well, that's exactly it. And a lot of them I talked to, it was just them and their really close friends. People already fish with anyway. They just call it a tournament. But now, once it takes off, and that's we don't have anything like else down here that I'm aware of. I know that we have a couple of professional teams and colleges and stuff, but
they got a bunch of bass tournaments, but this is the first catfish tournament. A lot of people, a catfish tournament? What is that? I say it's just like a bass tournament, but for men. I get fussed at about that.
Yeah, I was going to say. I laughed about it, but I turned my mute on because I wasn't going to get me and you both a butt whipping. But I love catching catfish. Like I said.
Oh, that's me. I used to do a lot of bass fishing. I used to be pretty decent at it. I never got into the tournaments and stuff, but I used to be pretty good at it. But they've got so many different crazy rules and regulations. You cross the road, the rule limits are different over there, and the length limit and all that. So I lost interest in it.
Yeah.
And catfishing, you got a daily limit of 10 per person. On most of Arkansas, it's 10 per person. There's no limit on the Mississippi River. No limit on Chico on Channel Cat. But your blues and flatheads, you still got a limit of 10 over there on Chico. And down at Grand Lake, there's no limit on catfish. And everybody enjoys it. And there's always a possibility you're going to tie into a triple-digit fish. I've caught, out of the Washita here, I've caught 2 flatheads that one of them was 52 and one was 65 pounds on rod and reel. So they're here. It's just a matter of finding them. And you never know when you're fishing.
If you're fishing with a 15-pound test, you're going to be in trouble with that dude, aren't you, or not?
Well,
I don't know.
Both those two, the 52 and the 65, I caught both those on 20-pound test line and bass tackle.
Huh.
It's all in, because I was in open water where it didn't have nothing to run under.
Yeah.
And I was able to play it with the drag and wear it out.
Right.
It's what basically is what it was. I wore it out.
Wear them out. But it would have probably wore me out too. But now, yeah, that's right. You could play, if you could get them and just keep them close, you know, and just wear him out. I mean, just where he, you know, where
use
he
that drag.
Yeah, that's what it's for, right there. But a lot of people don't understand. All right, so now, how deep is that Washita down here? We're talking about right here. A lot of people are going, well, I'm going to publish this on Action County now.
Well, but right here now where we're fishing at, the water's 35 foot deep. I'm looking at my depth finder right now. It's 35 foot deep right now. And there's a hole right down below us there that was 54. And it's just, right now the river is up about 4 foot above flood stage. So it's up some now. So where we're at now should be around 31 foot.
That's crazy. So
but I have caught them in. We're north of the bridge, just up from the old beer joint boat ramp. We're just upriver from it, just around the curve from it, upriver.
I cut you off. What'd you say before that, though?
No, we're above the bridge, north of the bridge.
I got you. But I think I cut you off. I'm asking you about where you were at. I'm sorry. Maybe you forgot about that. But so it's 31 feet. Now, are you close to the bank? Are you out in the middle? Where you at with that?
Right now we're probably 40 foot from the bank on one side, and we're about a quarter way across the river from the bank.
Wow. That's pretty.
And it gets on the other side over there. It gets shallower over there. It'll go up to about 8 or 10 foot over there.
Well, that's what I'm used to with these rivers around here. Is 8, 10 foot, 12 foot here and there. But damn, I didn't realize it.
Well, about anywhere down this river, if you're fishing over here on the old beer joint side of the river,
yeah.
If you're fishing over there from the bank, about any place you're throwing, if you're throwing out any distance, it's always going to be 20, 30 foot. Because this river's pretty deep over here.
It's a big river. I know it. See, I grew up on the Saline over there, and that's kind of where we always, and it was a whole lot different river. It's a tributary.
Yeah, well, see, that's like me. I grew up on the Saline up around Benton where it starts. And it's a whole different critter up there. Up there, you're flowing across rocks, and the water, you can wade for miles up and down through there, and it never get above your belly button. But it's clear water, clean water. It's rocks, running over rocks and stuff. And they don't have they got a spillway up there, but they don't have any dams up that way. And that's where I grew up fishing, right there on Saline River. Mainly what we fish for is brim, bass, and crappie. Now, I fished Arkansas River quite a bit back then, but just a special day, we go up to Arkansas River. We go to Saline about any time we got ready, because it wasn't but a few miles from the house.
I mean, you mentioned those fish there. That's exactly what we caught on the Saline River a few miles from our house up around Longview. Actually, right around that area. So, and so that river is, but now catfish, is there many catfish in Saline River? I guess there probably is, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. There's some good ones in Saline River.
Uh-huh.
We've caught some out there weighing 20, 25 pounds on rod and reel. Up there around Longview, below the bridge up there at Longview. We caught some up there last year that weighed 20 pounds.
Well, let me ask you a question with that river over there. One thing I always did was mouth a creek, which is a little bit further south of the bridge. We used to have camps. My family did down there, and we would, which is real close to Horsehead. You know what Horsehead is down there? Yeah.
I've been there a couple times.
I used to walk into that thing, but I hadn't been there in a while. That conservation unit bought a lot of that over. How has that affected fishing in that area at all, or none, or what do you think?
I don't know. I hadn't been up that way in several years. Mm-hmm. Like I said, most of my fishing anymore, before we started this tournaments and stuff, most of my fishing was either on Lake Chico or down here on the Washita, here around Felsenthal.
I'm gonna tell you right now, Lake Chico and Grand Lake are both great places to fish. I've caught plenty of fish out of all.
We've caught several out of Chico this year. I've caught them out of Chico myself up to 37 pounds on rod and reel. And I had a buddy of mine with me one night, and he got one up to the side of the boat. It would have probably went 55 or 60. And he got it broke off right there at the boat.
So now, you see, I'm the boat I've been in out there and that thing right there, and it's been 10 years. But now we never did know how deep it was. How deep is the Chico? Just across the board there. I mean, what kind of some deepest and shallowest parts have you seen of it?
Well, you can. It all depends on where you're at, because there's a couple of spots on there that's 30, 35 foot deep. And then most of the channel runs 16, 18 foot, and it shallows out from there back to the bank.
Mm-hmm.
And I fished all over Chico. We put in at Connolly Bow a lot of times. I put in at Town, and we put in down at Ditch Bow several times. I've caught fish all up and down the lake.
But I think that over there you guys have noodled, and you've maybe yo-yo. What all you do? What else do you do over there besides fishing? I mean, y'all do everything at Chico, right?
Well, I used to go over there and do a lot of yo-yoing. In Connolly Bow up in there, when in the springtime when it was cold, we'd go up in there and run yo-yos at night. And we caught crappie and catfish, but the last few years, all I've done is pole fish it. I hadn't even run no trot lines or nothing over there, just poles. Because I've got to where I've learned the lake enough that I can pretty much guarantee I'm gonna catch fish when I go over there.
What about that bayou over there? That bayou by Ptolemy over there?
I've never been on it.
I was wondering if you'd ever been on that thing.
I've got a friend that fishes it. Well, they told me that the way that bayou is right now, in the last couple of years, I couldn't get my boat up and down in it because my boat's too big. They you got to drag over a treetop here and there and all that.
That's a big boat. Your boat's what, 20 foot? How big's your boat?
It's a 2072. It's 20 foot long and 6 foot wide across the bottom, and it's 99 inches across the top.
Yeah, well, that Bartholomew, a long time ago, people carried all kinds of stuff up and down it, but it's not like it hadn't been cleaned out in a long time.
Yeah, them trees and stuff fell in it, and I got a buddy of mine that goes over there. He's got a little 17-foot boat he puts in there, and he can drag it around them treetops and stuff, but he runs got some hoop nets out over there now.
Are they just catching crappie?
You're not allowed to keep crappie in them.
Oh.
Anytime you catch a crappie in a hoop net or a gill net or anything like that, you got to turn it back loose right then. Anytime you're commercial fishing and catch a crappie or a bass, it's got to go back.
So you're making me think that fishing's gotten complicated since I used to go, because you better not have certain types of fish with you in certain places. I mean, you got to know what you're doing. Apparently,
well,
you do some research.
If you're commercial fishing, there's a whole bunch of regulations. Now, pleasure fishing like we're doing today, I mean, we're just getting back here relaxing. But it's not that bad doing that, because if the fish bite, they bite. If they don't, they don't. But, I mean, down here today, if we caught crappie, we could keep crappie or bass, any of it, as long as they're legal limit. There's not a legal length limit on crappie down here, but the bass, I think, has got to be 15 inches long to keep them. But we're just, everything we got here with us is geared toward catfish. So every now and then I'll catch a bass on cut shad or something like that, but most of the time it's just catfish biting. We'll catch a gar now and then or a drum, and we catch them, we turn them back loose.
Well, I guess let's talk about how you cook those catfish. If you ever catch any on your leisurely days, how do you fry it? Do you bake it? I mean, how do you do your fish? I
fry mine. For me, a fish ain't a fish if it ain't fried. I'm just an old country boy, and that's the way I was brought up eating fish, and that's the way I like it. I've tried them grilled, I've tried them baked and all that, but I just don't care nothing about it like that. A lot of people would rather have them that way.
I can't imagine, because catfish is some delicious stuff fried about 300 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
Drop that in there, baby. You ready to roll?
Roll it up in your cornmeal or a Cavender's with Cavender's Greek seasoning and stuff, and fire it up. Drop in that grease, and when it floats to the top, it's time to eat. Get you a big old plate of French fries to go with it, and it's on.
So now, what about those hush puppies? You do those or no?
Every once in a while, we'll make hush puppies, but usually I don't worry about it. It takes if I'm eating hush puppies, that's that much less fish I can eat.
I like your style, dude. I like your style. That's cool right there.
I like to fillet my fish because I don't like picking bones.
Uh-huh.
And that way I don't have to worry about no bones. And when I sit down to eat, I'm sitting there to eat, not pick bones.
Yeah. So now, earlier I mentioned something about those buffalo fish. And we need to wrap it up here because we're going to bore some people. But no, we not either, because if you fishermen, you going to enjoy it. But now, what about buffalo? Whenever I was a kid, and I haven't seen anybody talk about them in a long time, it's buffalo, what they call buffalo fish. Is that still them bony things still around here? Or? Oh,
yeah, there's still several buffalo. There's a lot of folks, they net down here in the Washita for buffalo. They can't keep the catfish out of the Washita, but they do keep the buffalo, because the net fishermen do. I ain't never found nothing that bite on to catch them. But I don't care nothing about the buffalo. The only thing I want to eat is the catfish or crappie. That's about all I eat. Big brim. But
I can't eat a bass. Everybody talks about bass, but to me that sounds like a sport fish. Like I've never been able to eat a bass.
No, I've tried them. I've tried them. I just don't care much about them. I don't know if it's the texture or flavor or what, but I just don't care much about them.
I need crappie and brim and catfish all day. I mean, I can sit there.
That's it. That's my three.
That's mine. And I've tried the tilapias, and I've read the stories about them, and I've done the salmon, and I can do a little bit of it, because I know it's really good. And, but
I don't care nothing about. I've tried the tilapia and salmon and all that. I don't care anything about any of that. That's like seafood. I mean, to me, seafood. I don't like seafood.
Me either. I don't even eat crawfish. You eat crawfish?
I don't either. Nope. I like to fish with them.
Yeah.
They're a good bait.
That's exactly what I use them for. We called them mud bugs, and they grew up in the yard and put little things and little cones out there, and you went and got them fish in the pond with them.
Yep. I set a trap in my creek there by the house. And I checked them today to see if I had any in there big enough to fish with. I was going to bring a couple to fish with, David. I didn't have none in there big enough to fish with.
So now, I've heard people fishing with all kinds of things. Catching those catfish. I heard an old guy told me he had some livers. I know. Are you in a bind? You need to jump off, or you want me to throw some bait at you, or what do you want me to do?
I'm fine. Like I said, I'm kicked back on the river. I got my rods out with bait on them and waiting on the fish to find it.
Well, now, some old guy was telling me he was down there in those bayous. That's a different place. And he had those chicken hearts and strawberry Kool-Aid fishing.
I've heard people fishing all the different baits like that, mixing strawberry Kool-Aid with it and all kind of stuff with that. Weenies.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I basically fish with either shad or skipjack. Is my two main baits. Now, I have got to where I've been using some of that Asian carp a lot. Cut it in chunks and fish with it, because the catfish love it. But my main bait is either shad or skipjack. I catch a shad in my throw net, and different places. There's some down here in the Washita. You can catch them down here in the Washita or GP Lake. Lake Chico's loaded with them. And the skipjack, I usually go to Arkansas River up around Pendleton Dam up at Dumas to catch them. Catch them on jigs. But
are they seasonal? Are they seasonal or year round? Those skipjacks specifically.
Well, you usually do best in the springtime when they make a big run, because they got more water running. But you can catch them year round if you can find them. You can catch them year round. They're just harder to catch when it's cold and stuff, because apparently they like warmer water. And skipjack is It's a skipjack herring is what it is. A freshwater herring is what it is. And they look, if you look at one of them, they look like a small tarpon with the way the mouth and the head and shape of them and everything. It looks like a tarpon.
So yesterday, you were under those chads, whatever you want to call them. How did you know to be there at that time to catch them? Did you look into them? Did you, how did you know?
Well,
I'm kind of in between.
Yeah, they're in GP Lake. There's usually shad up in that, where the boat ramp is. You can usually catch shad up in there about any time of year. And right now they're thick in there. But I put a bunch in the freezer. I try to keep frozen ones. I'd rather have fresh bait, but I keep some froze in case I can't get no fresh bait sometimes. Going to different places, I carry froze with me in case there ain't no fresh moving. But you can usually find shad about anywhere there's water. Down here on the Washita, they're scattered so much, they're hard to find. Now you can get below the dam down here at Felsenthal. Usually below a dam, you'll find shad. But just up in the main river up here, they're scattered and hard to find. And usually after dark, you can turn a light on and shine it in the water for a while, and they'll come to that, and you can catch them.
Now,
but
what else is in the GP Lake? You mentioned getting some shads for some GP Lake over there, but what is it? What's it floating around in it right now? Is it being tended to? What's going on with GP Lake? What kind of have you been down there lately, or are you guys talking?
I've been. They've been catching a few of them big red ears down there, and I don't know. I've talked to a couple of guys. They was catching some bass out of there. And one guy told me the other day he'd caught a 40-something pound catfish on a trot line. There's some big fish in that lake. Nobody ever fishes for them because it's so stumpy and hard to fish. But they're in there. I mean, there's some good bass in there. There's a lot of good crappie in there if you can find them. I'll stick with my catfish though because I can find the catfish. I can usually find the catfish. Today's been kind of a letdown, but but I'm not sitting at the house.
That's right, and you can't win every day with fishing. But now sometimes with fishing, you just gotta enjoy doing what you're doing. You know what I'm saying?
Being out in nature.
Yeah.
We watched a beaver swim across the river a while ago.
Oh man!
I have watched a couple of eagles down here last summer, and we had a couple of eagles down here flying around. I've seen deer swim across the river, hogs. I've seen a little bit of everything down here. I've seen a bear or two on the banks. Right now, the river's so far out of the banks that there ain't nothing coming down close to the river itself.
Hey, is that why I'm seeing all those deceased pig carcasses on the side of the road there?
Yep. The bottoms are flooded so bad, it's got them run up out of the bottoms.
Yeah. I figured that's what it was, and that's unusual to see. I hadn't seen that in a long. There's a lot of pigs down in that river.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them in there. It's overrun with them.
But now, do you ever do any of that kind of stuff? Any kind of hog hunting or deer hunting or anything, or are you just a fisherman?
Oh, I deer hunt during deer season. That's about as soon as deer season's over, I'm back on fishing. I was fishing New Year's Day.
Yeah, and I know you were involved in some deer hunting stuff there. But like you said, when I think of Clyde, Randy Hood, I think of fishing. I don't know what it is. Go ahead.
That's my main thing. I mean, I fish year round. Some of the biggest fish are caught in the wintertime.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I like fishing during the winter because there's less snakes. That's another reason. But now
I don't worry about the snakes. The thing I like about wintertime is you ain't got all the pleasure boaters out there running crazy. It makes it hard to fish when you got jet skis running by you at 30, 40 mile an hour.
Yeah, that would definitely do it. So now, what do you mentioned that you want to keep it, you want to grow. But what's the name of it? The Southeast
Southeastern Arkansas Catfishing Trail.
Southeastern Arkansas Catfish Trail. And I think you can grow. You need to grow some, but you're doing good. You're growing steadily. You guys have been. Everybody's talking about you. You've been doing a lot of things. Making sure kids were involved, the next generation. You have. You know how to fish. You know where it's at, and I can tell that you've been around. As much as you can with. Now, tell me, finish it out for us. Just kind of give us a vision of, where the trail is going to, or, just kind of finish it up for us. Yeah.
We hope it keeps growing and we can get more participants actually fishing. That's what we're looking for. The way we do it now in our payouts, if we got 10 boats or less, we pay out one place to winner take all. But when we get 11 to 15 boats, we'll pay two places. It'll be a 60-40 split. And when we get over 16 boats, 16 or over, it's going to be a 50-30-20 split. But all the money that comes in goes right back out. The entrance fees is all paid out in winnings. And we're hoping to get, where we got consistent, have 15 or 20 boats to a tournament. And then, grow it from there. That's one reason we keep it cheap like it is. I mean, there's not another a trail that I know of anywhere that's $50 a boat. And most of them, you got a rod limit that you can't have but 5 or 6 rods per boat out, and 3 people per boat. And the way we do it, as far as the rod, there's no rod limit. You can have, if you want 40 rods out, you can have 40 rods out. If you want whatever's legal for your boat, as far as you're only allowed 4 of the licensed fishermen to a boat. But you can have, if your boat's big enough and capable of it, you can have 5 or 6 kids fishing along with those 4. We done it that way because last year we had we went up to 4 to a boat. Well, last year we was 3 to a boat like everybody else. And we had a couple of husbands and wives that they fished together, but the wives liked to fish too, but they couldn't fish with their husbands because only one of them had a boat. So we just made it where you could have 4 people. That way 2 husbands and 2 wives can fish together. And we started that this year. We changed that rule this year to start out with so that we could get more women involved in it. We're trying to get some more women involved. And we've got some things, especially from around CrossFit, that folks have donated, like passes to the yoga studio down there, a yoga class or something like that. And last year we had Wanda I forgot what her last name is, but she donated a personal training session to somebody, but that would have to be somebody here local to get that, because ain't nobody going to drive very far, down from Little Rock or whatever to get it. And we've got a lot of folks on the trail. We've got some folks that's added here lately that's planning on fishing with us this year. One guy was from Texarkana, and he's planning on driving over to fish some of our tournaments because he said it sounded fun. I said, well, that's the name of it. We're in it for fun. We're not in it for anybody to get rich or nothing like that, because that's not going to happen. But we're in it for fun. And that's what I explained to our sponsors when we get sponsors and stuff. And that's what they was kind of happy about, because we're not trying to make a great big name for it. We're just trying to keep it a fun trail. It's kind of like I told one guy the other day, is one of our sponsors. He's with Hooker's Terminal Tackle. I told him, I said, this trail here, I said, this is the poor man's trail. And I mean, $50 entry fee ain't gonna, if it ain't gonna break nobody that's really interested in fishing. And you take a chance on winning some money out of it. Or, I mean, our rods that we give away, most of them are, the meat hunter rods are $60 and $70 rods. So if you win a rod, you've made back your interest fees.
Yeah, Go ahead. Go ahead.
We got a new sponsor this year. Is Nocturnal Nation Catfish Hooks, and they gave us I think it was six $50 gift certificates for 5 or 6 packs of hooks per tournament to give away, and it's going to be a gift card for that, and that's going to be that's $250 per tournament they're donating. And so that'll help us out with some folks, and we're just trying to get enough people to make all of our sponsors really take notice. We've got a code for 15% off Meat Hunter rods. That's an extra thing he does. He donates rods to us for giveaways, but he also gives us a code for 15% off any Meat Hunter rods you buy with our code. And Piscifun Reels, I think that's how they say it. They're watching us this year, and if they're going to give us a code for, they're semi-sponsoring this year. They're going to give us a code. He's supposed to be getting me a code for 15% off their reels, any of the Piscifun reels that they got. And then he said if he's going to follow our trail, if we advertise and promote him, that next year he will be a full-fledged sponsor. And we're going to see.
That gets their name, 2 or 3 things you've talked about here, that gets their name on a billboard, because they've, like I said, you're what, 2 years old, 3 years old at the most?
This will be our 3rd season we're starting up.
Yeah. So that's some great backing. Of course, we need to make sure we have some logos for those guys, because that's a big investment. And fishing is something, I don't know about you, but they, a lot of people around here, and I think you mentioned the Felsenthal youth fishing thing down there.
Yeah, they have that youth tournament every year on the free fishing weekend. And
oh yeah.
Yep, on the free fishing weekend. It's on the other. Do what?
Is it in the fall? When is that thing?
No, it's going to be. I forgot what. June. I think it's the first weekend of June. I think is what it is. But the free fishing weekend is always in June, and they bring the Game and Fish Commission brings a truck down the night before. It's always on a Saturday morning. They bring a truck down from one of their hatcheries, loaded with catfish, up to 1 to 3, 4 pounds, and they take it to the little pond over there at the Felsenthal. It's on across the bridge over there on the El Dorado side, and they put signs up every year. And the kids, it's free to the kids to fish. They come up in there and they can win prizes and stuff like that. And like I said, we're going to try to donate some rods again this year. And we try to, push them to get the kids more interested. And Felsenthal said that they've never had any individual or group like that. They've had corporate sponsors and stuff, but as far as an individual, like a tournament trail, they've never had any tournament trails to actually try to help them out any. And I told her, I said, well, you can count us in for every year from now on.
Well,
we'll do something.
I've been here for over 50-something years, and I don't really remember trails, catfishing trails through here. So,
well, ours is the first one down this way.
I know it is.
So, and we took it off. We kind of there's another tournament trail in Arkansas. It's called Arkansas Area Catfish Hunters, and most of their tournaments, the last 2 years, has been either at Dardanelle or at Helena. And we decided this year, or 2 years ago, this will be the 3rd year, that we wanted to put one in down this way for the folks down in this area of the state. Now, I can still fish their tournaments too. They can fish ours. I said, like I told the guy that runs it, he's a good friend of mine. I told him, I said, look, we're not in no competition or nothing. I said, we're just 2 tournament trails in the same state. I said, we stay in south and pretty much southeast Arkansas. I said, and y'all's got the rest of the state pretty much. I said, but we're not in no kind of competition with nobody. It's just everybody's out to have a good time. And so he told me, he said, I totally agree with that. He said, I've had people say something about, are we in competition? I said, no, we're not in no competitions. We're just having fun.
Yeah.
Hoping everybody has fun.
Well, and we hope to get more people involved because, you know, it's a lot of people. I guarantee you that right now in our county, there's probably 100 boats that haven't even been cranked up. Bass tracker boats, probably, that haven't even been cranked up in 2 years. 3 years. And fishing is something we forgot about, something we've done forever. I know that ever since I grew up around, I had uncles and my dad that all fished. And luckily, I got to spend time on that Flint River and Washita and Grand and Chico and every other little place I could get my pole to dip into.
Yeah.
And it's important to be able to support that because, if you look at the number of fishing licenses issued every year in the state of Arkansas, I think it went up a little bit in 2020. They were given away for free, but, it's been going down for a long time. People don't know how to catch a fish or a fish.
Well, we just caught our first fish for the day.
I heard some noise back there.
Yeah, it's a 5.2 pound blue cat. It's the first one we caught today.
That's some good eating right there.
That's perfect eater.
That's a perfect eater right there. Now, channel cat's number 3. Blue cat. I always thought blue cat was number 1. What was the other?
The flathead. The flathead's the best eating.
Is that also Appaloosa?
Yeah, Appaloosa, flathead. That's all the same thing. Yellow cat, shovelhead. They call them all different sorts of things.
They are good. That is good. Yeah, that is good. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. I know you're busy. We're at 1 hour here. It's an anticipatory moment, and I appreciate you spending time with me. I know you got to deal with that fish. Thank you so much, sir. I'm gonna put this thing on Action County now. Say goodbye to us.
Okie doke. Well, I appreciate it, and when you get ready to go, just let me know. We'll go.
What's your number? Tell me to call you a certain number.
It's area code 501-317-7196.
Be blessed, Mr. Hood. Be blessed.
And that's for anybody that wants to fish. Just holler. We'll go. I'm always looking for somebody to go fishing.
Sounds good. Be blessed.
And you too. You have a good one.